Hi, Dr. Robert Selig, and last week I talked about weight loss resistance and the 7 major roadblocks to why we cannot successfully lose weight. We talked about liver toxicity, and in liver toxicity we talked about the importance of moving the bile. We went into that, we went into the nutrients, and we also talked about estrogen dominance. Now, what I forgot to talk about in estrogen dominance was how men are affected by estrogen dominance. So even though we think of estrogen as a female hormone, we have to understand that estrogen dominance in the male population is the reason why we have tanking testosterone. It's the low libido, it's the erectile dysfunction, it's also the belly weight, it's the loss of muscle tone, it's the man boobs and all the stuff we don't want. So just wanted to bring that up. And today, the third roadblock to weight loss resistance is the thyroid. So we got to look at the thyroid, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into how the thyroid is connected to weight loss resistance, our inability to lose weight. So what is thyroid hormone? The thyroid hormone truly is the master metabolizer. It generates energy. So we have to understand that thyroid hormone gets into the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, to make energy. So we absolutely need that energy so cells can do what cells need to be doing. So it's very important. So the active form of thyroid hormone is T3. T3 gets into the DNA, tells the DNA what to do. So thyroid hormone controls the rate at which cells burn calories. Now that's huge when we're talking about weight loss. It's also the rate at which oxygen is utilized, and that's important in the whole mitochondrial Krebs cycle energy ATP production. It's body temperature. And so today, on a cold day in Chicago, we start to, the ones that are having thyroid troubles will feel more cold sensitivity, especially in the hands, their feet, their bones. And so we start to realize that how the thyroid controls the metabolism and so closely, intimately related to our body temperature. And body temperature is so important that we understand how to interpret these signs and symptoms in us so we can kind of hone in on where we need to go when we're looking at the totality of a patient. It's also involved in heart rate, fertility, motility, gastric motility, and memory. Memory is huge. So really, what is thyroid hormone? So when we talk about T4, so T4 is the inactive, T3 is the active. So what is the T, what is the 3, what is the 4? T stands for tyrosine. Now tyrosine is an amino acid that is made from iron and phenylalanine. That's what makes your tyrosine. The 3 represents 3 iodines, or the 4 represents 4 iodines. So we have to understand the importance of how the liver always comes to play with this. And this is where, the liver is making all your amino acids, where all the amino acids are pulled in the liver. And we also have to understand the importance of the conversion in other players in thyroid hormone. So when we're making thyroid hormone, we absolutely know we need the amino acids. We also need selenium. Selenium is like an antioxidant type of a mineral. But what selenium does, it activates T4 to convert to T3. Without selenium, that conversion will not happen, and that happens mostly in the liver, so we always come back to the liver. But T4 to be converted to the active form T3 is selenium dependent. Selenium is also important as part of an antioxidant, because as the enzymes of selenium are producing its enzymatic functions to help deal with the oxidation, the free radical production, which is causing a lot of inflammation and stuff that will inhibit the function of the thyroid. So understanding the key players of what is going on with thyroid hormone is critical for our understanding if we are to get really successful at this weight loss problem that we're dealing with, the weight loss resistance, and understanding the thyroid connection. T3 is necessary to activate your dopamine, your epinephrine, your adrenaline. So we see how it's intimately connected to the adrenals, to the brain function. So making and connecting the dots of our whole hormonal endocrine system is key to really understanding health and weight loss. So when we're dealing with weight loss, when I put people on the Transformation 360 diet, I see amazing results where, we're losing, after 5 weeks on the program, we're losing between 15 to 25 pounds of fat weight, and that's wonderful. But we also see on the program that we're controlling the blood sugar, the blood pressure, all the markers of health start to improve. But there's always the plateau, and it's this plateau where we still haven't reached the weight number where we want to be at, and we have to understand what are those roadblocks. And so, we've gone over the liver toxicity, we've gone over the estrogen dominance, and today we're honing in on the thyroid. So why is our thyroid out of balance? Well, there's many reasons why the thyroid is so out of balance, but let's just start with the nutritional deficiencies. And we talked about selenium, we will be talking about iodine, and we will be talking about the other factors involved in, our thyroid being more on the sluggish, slow, hypothyroid side. So we also mentioned that, to convert T4 to T3, the liver also needs sulfur amino acids. Again, this is the importance of amino acids, this is the importance of methylation, and the importance of the liver. We also have to understand how vitamin D deficiency is a player. Now, vitamin D has nothing to do with the actual making of thyroxine, the thyroid hormone, but it is a huge player with controlling the amount of inflammation. If we have too much inflammation in our thyroid, we're not going to make thyroid hormone. And vitamin D, with numerous studies showing how one of the major functions that this pre-hormone vitamin D does is control inflammation and has an affinity for the thyroid. Also, iron deficiency anemia. So when the thyroid hormone is following its DNA instructions, and it's doing what it's doing, there comes a part in its instruction where it needs iron to really take the next 80 steps, which is iron dependent. So if we have iron deficiency anemia, what's one of the #1 cause of iron deficiency anemia is loss of blood. And so this is why we come back to the estrogen and the estrogen dominance and controlling and understanding how important the female cycle is in dealing with this blood loss. There's many other reasons why we have iron deficiency anemia. And again, I always come back to all roads lead to the liver, because the liver and iron is where that system is being made. So if we have a stagnant liver, if we have a fatty liver, if we have liver stagnation, liver fire, the liver won't have time to do all its necessary jobs at the function it's supposed to be doing it at, and it's going to diminish some of the functions, and that may show itself in a whole host of many things that I talked about earlier with liver toxicity. We also know that in iron deficiency anemia, we need to look at the stored version of iron, which is ferritin. So ferritin is your bank account of iron stores. So we're not really checking, in conventional medical wisdom, we're not really looking at the ferritin stores, because the ferritin really that's the bank account of your iron stores. Also when we don't have enough iron in the body, that's going to affect the myoglobin. We have the hemoglobin, which is the delivery of oxygen, but also the myoglobin is how we deliver the oxygen in the muscle. So we'll see a lot of iron deficiency anemias suffering with muscle aches and fibromyalgias, and a lot of just fatigue and lethargy in the muscles. And that's really important to understand. And also you'll see some deficiencies, vertical lines in the ridges of the nail. And when we do iron supplementation, it's important that we take an iron that's bound to glycine, because if it's not, it's going to be very toxic to the liver. And so we want to avoid taking in iron supplementation that will cause the liver to become very toxic. So we need to have a better understanding of supplementation, what foods are important for iron, how to control the menstrual cycle so we're not losing blood, losing iron. So many factors come in with the iron deficiency anemias. Also, we have to understand the role zinc plays in thyroid hormone. Zinc's main function in thyroid hormone is responsible for thyrotropin releasing hormone. That releasing hormone is in your hypothalamus. Without zinc, you can't make TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone. That's a biggie. So zinc is a huge player in this. And 90% of all the oddball symptoms of hypothyroidism are related to this zinc deficiency. So we need to really understand the importance of mineral assessment. So when my patients come to me, I have to assess their mineral ratios. I have to look at all the mineral ratios. And if we have deficiencies and toxicities, we absolutely must deal with that. And so one of the roles that I play is testing patients to see where their mineral status is. That to me is huge. Also, with zinc, women need at least 50 milligrams of zinc. Men need about 75 milligrams. And when we have zinc deficiencies, you're going to notice white spots on the nails. That's one of the clear signs and symptoms of a zinc deficiency. You'll also notice that zinc is a major player in your immune system. So the ones that are getting, the repeated colds and flus and, kind of always sick, you must look at the zinc levels, because zinc has huge player in our immune function. So zinc is also responsible for our senses, for our sense of smell, for our sense of taste and hearing. So when we start to lose the sense of smell, or our taste buds are diminished, or our hearing starts to wander, we have to look at the status of zinc. It's not the only thing, but again, we always have to look at the minerals because they play such a huge role in our health. And zinc is one of those minerals that's second to magnesium. Magnesium churns on about 1,000 biochemical enzymatic functions in the body. Zinc is responsible for 400 enzymatic functions in the body, including making your testosterone, including the motility of sperm. So this is where, if we have low thyroid, we're going to see the players that make the thyroid work and how that can impede on fertility issues, as we talked about that earlier. So the next major thing we have to look at is iodine. Now, iodine deficiency is so widespread in this country that we had to, we live in the goiter belt in the Midwest, and so the goiter belt, we discovered that we weren't really getting iodine into our diet, and they actually had to add iodine to the salt, and that's really the only thing that it added to, and it's in such small quantities that it barely is enough to prevent goiter. So when we're dealing with iodine, we want to have a better, deeper understanding how important iodine is for the totality of our health. Now, when we look at the Japanese consume probably 100 times more the recommended daily allowance of iodine. And they have the least incidence of the glandular cancers such as ovarian cancer, endometrial cancers, prostate cancers, breast cancers. And it's because their iodine is at a level of 100 times the recommended daily allowance that it is in the States. Iodine was introduced in 1811. Again, its first medical use was to treat goiters. And now we have schizophrenia in medicine. We think that iodine causes goiters when in reality it's the real cure for the prevention of goiters. All we have to do is go back and look at the medical literature, and there is numerous volumes of the importance of iodine, of getting it into our diet. Now, iodine is also one of the greatest antibacterials known to mankind. It's better than using an antibiotic because the iodine will kill a bug within seconds, but it won't kill the good bacteria. That is huge. It's also antifungal, antiparasitic, viral. This is huge when we're trying to understand this autoimmunity with thyroid. And when we look at autoimmunity, we got to look at toxicity, we got to look at the chronic infections. So we have to connect all the dots. It's so anti-cancer. So the absence of iodine is a promoter of cancer. That is true in blue today, and we have to understand what is the mechanism. Iodine turns on apoptosis. Apoptosis is how a cell dies. A cancer cell doesn't die. It keeps on growing and growing, and its malignant lesion keeps on spreading. But when a cell has the apoptotic ability, the cell will be programmed to die. And iodine is especially important in apoptosis. That is huge. We also realize that in a lot of the cancers, so when we're talking about, the thyroid, we start with a goiter, and the goiter is a nodule, it's scar tissue, it's pain, and that eventually will lead to thyroid cancer. We may have fibrocystic breast, which is painful, it's indurated, it's tender, and eventually that will lead to breast cancer. We may have fibrocystic ovaries that is painful, swollen, and tender, and indurated, and again that will lead to ovarian cancer. And iodine is a huge player in preventing the glandular cancers. It's something that we need to really understand to take our health to the next level and understand how we can start supplementing intelligently with iodine. Iodine is in a class of the halogens. We have the bromide, we have the fluoride, we have the chlorine. Those are the other halogens, and they compete with each other. So if we're taking in the toxic bromide, the toxic fluoride, and if the chlorine becomes oxidized, then it becomes bad, and then that's competing with the iodine, and it's kicking out the iodine, and it's putting in the bad halogens, and also the percolates compete with iodine. And we have to understand how to detoxify. And we have designer detoxification systems and protocols that we incorporate at Back to Natural Health that I will assist my patients on how to detoxify so we can get the thyroid functioning at optimal levels. So if we have a thyroid that's producing the hormone, then we can really have a fighting chance of losing weight. So today was just kind of a very brief introduction on the third obstacle to weight loss resistance, which is the thyroid. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, call me, email me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And I look forward to helping anyone on their health journey, whether we're losing weight, trying to get hormones in balance, trying to deal with chronic infections, because we have to have a understanding, a really deeper understanding how we're going to get healthy. And part of it is nutrition, detoxification, it's dealing with the toxicities, the deficiencies, it's turning on our immune system. All these factors come into play when we're trying to get healthy. So the goal is not to just treat this or to treat that. The goal is get healthy. Thank you for watching.